Ogoniland has been in the news since last week as President Bola Tinubu has called for unity and collaboration, urging the people of Ogoniland to embrace mutual trust, expand consultations and work together to bring peace, development and environmental restoration to the region. The president said this during a closed-door meeting with the leaders of Ogoniland, led by the governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara, at the council chamber of the State House, Abuja, last Tuesday. The meeting, which has been discussed among other groups at different levels, was centered around issues around the possible resumption of oil exploration activities in the Ogoni oil fields and the progress so far made on cleanup activities. In a swift reaction to the visit, civil society organizations in the Niger Delta flayed the federal government over the invitation extended by the Office of National Security Advisor, ONSA, to some Ogoni leaders and stakeholders to discuss the resumption of oil production in Ogoni. Ogoniland has been a symbol of environmental degradation caused by decades of reckless oil exploitation and decrepit equipment. Joining us on the show to discuss the significant milestones recorded in the cleanup program with over 130 projects being executed in Ogoni is Professor Nenibarini Zabbey, the third project coordinator of the Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project, HYPREP, a project under the Federal Ministry of Environment that is saddled with the responsibility of implementing the recommendations of UNEP report on Ogoni, especially with a mandate to remediate hydrocarbon-impacted communities and restore livelihoods in Ogoni. Good morning and welcome to the morning show.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Abati. Good morning, Rufai.
Morning, sir.
Well, Professor Zabbey, good to have you on the program. First, let's clear something. We had a guest on this program last week. I think it's Mr. Celestine Akpobari, who is, an Ogoni rights activist and an NGO person from Ogoniland. And we talked about UNEP report. We talked about HYPREP. And we made the point that, look, money was given to HYPREP, but in terms of results and all of that, HYPREP got embroiled in, corruption charges, mismanagement issues, and the people of Ogoniland have not seen the remediation that HYPREP and the UNEP report were supposed to achieve. But Mr. Akpobari told us that government never gave any money to HYPREP, and that government has not been funding HYPREP. What exactly is the truth? Is it that money was given to HYPREP and there is truly, as alleged in some quarters, a lot of mismanagement of that process, and that's why we have not seen any concrete result since 2016-2019?
Thank you, Ruben, for your question. My response is this. It is important to inform the stakeholders and the public that HYPREP has different organs. There is what we call the Ogoni Trust Fund with a board of trustees. Then we have the governing council that is responsible for policies of HYPREP, which is chaired by the Honorable Minister of Environment, Malam Balalabe Abbas Lawal. And then we have the Project Coordination Office, which is the office I coordinate, which is purely for operations. And then we have the Central Representative Advisory Committee, which I chair. It comprises of respected chiefs and stakeholders from Ogoni and the Niger Delta, including SPDC. The responsibility of the CRAC is to resolve issues of conflict and to prevent conflict on the project. Then at the local government level, we have what we call ZRC, Zonal Representative Advisory Zonal Representative Committee, which has respected opinion leaders in that local government as members. Their responsibility is to deal with issues of conflict at that level. If they are unable to resolve it, they pass it on to the Central Representative Advisory Committee to resolve. Now, why am I making this clarification? HYPREP Project Coordination Office does not keep the money contributed by the various stakeholders. The formula for contribution by the stakeholders or the contributors is well defined in the HYPREP Gazette of 2016, December 12th, to be precise. And so the HYPREP Gazette defines how much each contributor will contribute to the Ogoni Trust Fund that is managed by the Board of Trustees. My role as the project coordinator is to coordinate operations. And the way it works is that when we notice that our money is depleting, we send utilization report to the governing council. And then I explain to them how the money was expended. And when they are satisfied, I put in a cash call. And at that point, the Honorable Minister of Environment and the Chairman of Governing Council will then escalate it to the Board of Trustees. So I don't have direct contact or direct interface with the Board of Trustees. So I don't know who has contributed, and I don't know how much has been contributed. It is only the Board of Trustees that receive the funds from the contributors and keep the funds that will be able to tell us precisely how much has been contributed and who has contributed a given amount. I think for us, the Gazette is very clear that we should not lack funds to implement the project, because the environment is not static, and so anytime we make cash call, money should be given to us. The BOT has never told us that there's no money, and so they cannot give us money because any particular contributor has not contributed. So for us, I think everything is fine when it comes to funding.
All right.
So if we want to know how much has been contributed and how much is still in the trust fund, then you have to invite the Board of Trustees to explain that to the public.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Professor Zabbey. I get you. The Board of Trustees would be in a better position to respond. But I'm sure you have an idea of how much money has been expended so far, because, like I mentioned during the introduction, 130 projects have been executed by your office or by the project. So tell us about some of these projects, the impacts, the people who have been beneficiaries of these projects, where they are situated, so that at least you can defend, contrary to what has been said in the past, that HYPREP has actually been working and will continue to do more work in the cleanup exercise in Ogoni land.
Okay, so we have different thematic areas that the Project Coordination Office focuses on. We have environmental remediation, which is the core of our mandate. We have restoration of livelihoods of the people, which is also the core of our mandate. But then, because we are implementing the recommendations of the UNEP report, we are also providing potable water to the Ogoni communities. And we are also building the Center of Excellence for Environmental Restoration. We are also strengthening public health. So I would like to take I would like to focus on the different thematic areas. So number one, in terms of environmental remediation, we are doing shoreline cleanup, we are doing mangrove restoration, and we are doing land remediation. In the aspect of land remediation, it is important to state that we have categorized the cleanup or remediation process into 3 phases. So 3 categories. We have the simple sites, we have the medium risk complex sites, and we have the high-risk complex sites. The simple sites are sites that only soil is contaminated. The complex sites are sites that both soil and groundwater are contaminated. Now, based on risk to the population, we subdivide the complex sites into two categories. The medium risk complex sites, which are sites that are far from residential areas, so the risk to the population is minimal. And then we have the high-risk complex sites that are situated within residential areas. And so the risk to the population is high. And the method of cleaning is also a bit difficult. So HYPREP started with the cleanup of the simple sites. And UNEP provided what we call 65 fact sheets, about 65 sites that they investigated. And so out of those 65, 20 had been dealt with, and those 20 sites were divided into 50 lots for cleanup convenience. And so out of the 50 lots, 48 had been certified by the regulator, which is NOSDRA. 2 are not certified because by the time we did further investigation, we saw that the level of contamination was more than what UNEP detected. And so such a site, those 2 sites are now categorized as medium risk complex sites. So we've finished the simple sites. Currently, we are dealing with the medium risk complex sites, and that includes 16 out of the 65 UNEP fact sheet sites. And we divided those 16 sites into 39 lots, and that is what we are working on currently. Then it is important to also inform stakeholders that when we did further investigation and invited NOSDRA to come and check, we saw that 13 out of the 65 sites had undergone natural attenuation. And so the level of contamination is within permissible limit. And so in sites like that, you don't have to take any other action. And it's important to stress that no action is also a form of cleanup. When natural attenuation processes had done the work and the level of contamination had reduced to levels that would not pose any risk to biodiversity, including human being, you don't take any action. So those sites have been certified by NOSDRA. Then we still have 16 high-risk complex sites, and these are sites that are within residential areas that require another level of remediation because we have to use non-intrusive method to remediate those sites because we are talking about contamination that is under people's houses, it's under community treasures like schools, like shrines, and churches. So you don't have the luxury of excavating sites like that. So we have to deploy another technology. Maybe permeable reactive barrier will be deployed. But what we are doing this year in terms of the high-risk complex site is to do robust site characterization to determine the scope of work that is required before it will be given to contractors, awarded to contractors to do the actual cleanup. Okay. So we are doing it systematically. Then for shoreline cleanup, we have 34 lots, and they are ongoing in 6 communities in Ogoni. We are making tremendous progress. I was there 2 weeks ago, and I was very excited by the level of work done there. Of course, I used the opportunity to show my solidarity to the community workers who are out there working. Then for mangrove restoration, we divided into 2 phases. So the pilot phase that has to do with restoring 560 hectares of oil-degraded mangrove areas. And after this phase, we'll now move into the large-scale mangrove restoration. Of course, The mangrove restoration is 75% completed as we speak.
Okay.
So out of the 9 lots, 2 had been completed 100%. And it is important for us to stress that our mangrove restoration is unique in the West African region, in the Gulf of the Gulf of Guinea, because for the first time we are doing restoration of multi-species of mangrove, 5 species of mangrove. So it is something that we would like to celebrate.
Okay, so I'll ask you about ongoing projects also, but also, as the UNEP reports, benzene in drinking water was about 900 times the World Health Organization safety levels. Where are we now with benzene in drinking water? Where are we also with, soil water, groundwater, which the UNEP report was saying is going to take about 25 or 30 years to remediate? And where are we now with some of the spills, that penetrated 5 meters deep into some areas? You've talked about some of the things you have done. You have partitioned the land and you have done some of the remediation. But I'm concerned about, benzene, levels as at the UNEP report, and also the air, the quality of the air in the atmosphere. Where are we with all of those numbers now? And groundwater.
Okay, so at the moment we are doing groundwater remediation in the medium risk complex site. And so we are treating both contaminated soil as well as the contaminated groundwater. We are deploying the best of technologies in the cleanup. So we are doing what we call air spudging in treating the groundwater. We are also doing trenching to recover the free phase. Now, to be specific about benzene, it's not just benzene, it is BTEX. So benzene, toluene, xylene, ethylene. So these are carcinogenic hydrocarbon contaminants that are mainly associated with refined products. Now, the area that UNEP detected the BTEX in groundwater above permissible limit are within the high-risk complex sites that I talked about. So the next phase of our cleanup will deal with that. Of course, we will have to do site characterization to determine the level of contamination as of today, because natural attenuation processes can reduce the level of concentration, then the flow of groundwater can as well expand the scope of what we call plume, so the area within the groundwater that has been contaminated. So it is important to do proper scoping before you move in to do the actual remediation. But before you interject, Rufai, I was talking about the projects we have been doing. Now, in the area of public health, UNEP recommended that we should create a public registry and monitor the health of the Ogoni people over time. We are doing more than that. We are building 2 hospitals at the moment. We are building 40-bed cottage hospital at Boa. We are building the Ogoni Specialist Hospital in Pite. And the Ogoni Specialist Hospital is a tertiary facility. It has oncology unit that will deal with cancer. It has infectious diseases unit. So it's a massive hospital. So we are doing all that. Then, as a form of palliative, we also carry out medical outreach in the 4 local government areas of Ogoni. We had the last one in December, and it was well celebrated by the people because over 7,000 patients presented themselves. And out of that 7,000, we did general surgery on 203 of the patients. We did 56 fibroid operation. We did 100 cataract operation. And then in the area of dental cares, which has to do with polishing and scaling, we attended to over 800 persons. And we issued eyeglasses to 823 persons. So we do that every year. Not only that, we have strengthened 4 hospitals in Ogoni to bring access to quality health care to the people. We have strengthened the Terabo Hospital, we have strengthened the Bori Hospital, we have strengthened the Inchia Hospital, and we have strengthened the Kwite Health Center. This year, like I told the Honorable Commissioner of Health here in Rivers State 2 weeks ago, we are strengthening 4 more hospitals. And when I say strengthening, we do renovation and provide state-of-the-art equipment in those hospitals. So we are doing that in the area of health. In the area of public water supply, we are providing portable water, not just to the oil-contaminated communities that UNEP recommended. We are doing beyond that. So we've considered water as a fundamental human right. And so we decided that we'll give water to all Ogoni communities. So far, 20 communities in Ogoni are provided with portable water. We've just completed 2 headworks of water schemes, big water schemes that will be commissioned on the 24th of next month. The Honorable Minister is coming alongside the UN Resident Coordinator to commission those 2 water projects. So when those 2 projects are commissioned on the 24th, 10 more communities in Ogoni will have access to portable water. At the moment, we are building 18 headworks in Ogoni and 4 booster stations. These 18 headworks and 4 booster stations will reticulate portable water to 68 more communities. And we are talking about an area of 700 kilometers. So the pipeline network is 700 kilometers. It's massive. Then this year, the Governing Council has approved that we should also construct 6 more water works. When we finish the 6 new water works this year, it means that the whole of Gokana local government will have water. Because in this current phase of our construction of water project, it is only Yege in Gokana that is not covered. So one of the 6 water schemes will be constructed in Yege. So the whole of Gokana would have been completed. Then Tai, the whole of Tai will have been completed by the end of this year. The whole of LMA will have been completed. Then we will have up to 80 to 90% coverage of Kana local government, because Kana local government has more communities, over 100 communities, while these other communities have 17, 20, 13. Okay. So we are doing more than the UNEP report recommended. Okay, then in the area of livelihoods,
all right, just wrap up.
Do you want to say something?
No, yes, we are running out of time, so we can just wrap up your thoughts in 30 seconds with regards to what you're doing with livelihood.
In the area of livelihood, we are strengthening capacity in the area. We are building capacity. We just completed training 5,000 Ogoni youths and women and provided them with starter packs.
But people Friday, are complaining about that training. With due respect, sir. With due respect, sir, I got a message.
Yes.
Where some people, they said that they were trained and they were protesting at your office. Can you throw more light on that as regards that training? As we wrap up quickly.
No, we have not had any protest from the trainees here. I think, Rufai, it is important for us to, also realize that some people are becoming disappointed because the project is working, and I can tell you for a fact. Right. So for us, we have completed the training. We have provided starter packs. The people are happy with it. In fact, 5 of our trainees in the aviation sector, cabin crew, are already employed.
All right.
We have 3 of our trainees who are employed in the Dangote refinery.
Right. Okay, that's really good to hear.
So they are
Professor
making,
Zabbey.
ends meet from it.
All right, that's really good to hear. And thank you for coming to the show this morning to highlight some of the projects that you've done in the past and what you're currently doing. With regards to remediation, livelihoods of the people in Ogoni land. I believe that the people who are there would also hear you and perhaps even work more collaboratively with the locals and the chiefs in Ogoni land. Thank you very much for your time with us this morning, Professor Zabbey.